GB News studio by Sally Jameson, the Labour MP for Doncaster Central, and Joe Robertson, a Conservative MP for the Isle of Wight East. Well, goodness me, lots of questions have come in.
And they've been great, and in the main, you've told us where you're from as well as your name, so top marks to everybody. There's some great questions coming up. Without further ado, Tom?
Absolutely. Paul has got in touch. Paul has said that he knows someone on PIP, Personal Independence Payments, of course. They filled in the forms and got rejected twice. They then went to a charity who helped them filling in the forms using so-called trigger words and the right sentences, and were awarded PIP after that. Sally, let's start with you. Paul is talking about a story of someone who, whichever way you read it, is facing a broken system.
Absolutely, and I think the thing that everyone agrees on is that significant reform was needed with the social security system, and that's the beginning of that was announced yesterday. And it's my understanding that if we don't act now, the social security system will be at £70 billion by the end of the Parliament, and that just isn't sustainable. And more importantly, it isn't fair on the many, many people who actually, with some support, could go into work, because we were left in a situation where you put in two categories, can work or can't work. But those people who are in the can't work category, some with the right support and the right packages, could enter the workplace again, which would be better for them, better for their income and better for society as a whole.
What do you say to your colleague Diane Abbott, who put to the Prime Minister during Prime Minister's Question Time that you're trying to balance the books, that this is about cutting £5 billion from public spending so you can balance the books, and to do that on the backs of people in need is immoral?
Well, I think Liz Kendall was very clear yesterday that those who are seriously disabled and cannot work will always be supported, and that safety net will always exist. And there is a green paper out now for consultation that MPs can pour through. I believe it's over 80 pages. Different organisations and charities and people like yourselves can go through and feed in what that says, and have the chance to give their opinions to the Secretary of State and ministers about what they think will and won't work. But actually, I think the central point is that how it is now actually disadvantages a lot of people and discourages them going into work, when actually it's something they might want to do.
Joe Robertson, are you concerned that the Labour Party here is outflanking the Conservatives on getting people back into work and off benefits?
No, I mean, the Labour Party isn't helping people get into work because it's hitting employers who employ people with national insurance contribution rises and the Employment Rights Bill, which puts off employers employing people. In terms of the PIP, universal credit, the welfare system, I think we all agree it needs reform. But what the government announced yesterday wasn't reform. It's stripping £5 billion out of the system that will hit a mixture of people, including those who are genuinely disabled. The system needs reform. Otherwise, people who are in genuine need miss out, while those who may be gaming the system or not in need continue to benefit.
Right, we're going to go to a question from Roy from Sutton now, who said, hi, lovely Gloria and Tom. The question today, I was wondering why savings need to be made, but Kendall and Reeves tinkering with a few billion of benefits due to disastrous budget effects, why have pensioners, brackets, I'm 80 years old, paid the cost of energy cuts? I suppose the question here from Roy is, there's some tinkering going on with benefits, yes, but the first people that were hit by this government were pensioners.
Well, I think that when we came into office, and, you know, this won't be the first time you've heard this, Tom, we inherited an absolute mess. The finances were in a mess, the country was in a mess, and swift action had to be taken to keep our economy on track. And that's what Rachel Reeves did, and there were some difficult decisions made. But actually, in relation to the winter fuel allowance, which I believe is alluding to, what the government did do was give home support fund to local councils to give to people who would need that support the most. So what we did was a more targeted approach of money rather than it being a universal benefit.
Joe Robertson from the Conservative Party, isn't the fact is that you left this ballooning benefit bill? You didn't get people, people who perhaps shouldn't be on that benefit bill. They were claiming you didn't sort it out. You had 14 years. And to be fair to the new government, they're trying to get a grip on this mess that you left.
So COVID definitely had an impact, and I think was a driver and a reason that more people became reliant on welfare. But I reject this idea that the government is doing anything about genuine reform. What it's trying to do is a quick fix. We're going to see an emergency budget next week because the Chancellor's stalled the economy, and there is no welfare reform. They are going to punish those who have a genuine disability and fail to capture those who are taking benefits when they don't need to. We need genuine reform, not a quick cash grab, which will harm those. For instance, if you're under 22, you'll no longer get a health top-up. Why? Can you not be 21 and in need of health top-up?
So the Conservatives don't want that bit.
We want a genuine reform of the welfare system, not a cash grab from those in need.
What I would say is that the Conservative Party had 14 years to bring genuine reform to the to the welfare system and chose not to. What I would also say is that health and disability benefit claims have gone up £20 billion since the pandemic, not just during the pandemic. And what I would also say is alongside this, we've introduced a benefit fraud and error bill, which will seek to capture those people that are fraudulently claiming and get that money back.
And
so
universal credit and PIP were Conservative reforms, right?
They are let's hold these thoughts, because there is a lot more to get stuck into here, and we'll be getting back to it after a very short break.